Welcome to Empowered by Illness, a podcast about living with genetic disorders. Episode 5, The Complexity of Happiness. In December of last year, I wrote a blog post about happiness, and I still feel this way, especially since the holidays are right in front of us. I'm going to take a break from talking about illness and just write about something simple yet so complex. Happiness. Life is truly hard, even for individuals who do not live as we do. It truly is a struggle day to day, week to week, sometimes even minute to minute. So in the struggles of everyday life, where do you find happiness? From philosophers to small memes, people have spoken of the elusive happiness as if it is one of the hardest things to find. You look at social media and you see people in their happiness, but that's not always reality. That is merely a flash of their hopes for happiness. This is something I've contemplated, especially for the last few days. This year has been one of the most trying and miserable years. I think everyone feels that way, unfortunately. This year, for some odd reason, it feels harder than most. So not only am I bringing this question to your attention, I'm also bringing it to mine. Happiness. The contentment in being human. Does that exist? When have you ever been actually content? Does contentment lead to happiness? Can you be happy without contentment? And I started to realize that I think each individual takes happiness into a certain consideration and wonders. Number 1, if they deserve it. And number 2, how do you get it? And I think from my perspective, I realized you do have to look for it. You also definitely deserve it. Happiness does not lay in your lap like the cat that you love so much. Happiness has to be sought after and found and cherished and held even for a millisecond. Without reason, that small glimpse of happiness can fill your soul to be able to move on to the next struggle or sadness, just as a dying flower in need of water would. So with this article, I encourage you to find that happiness, that small glance that we occasionally get to seek out. Find and enjoy even for a brief moment. Breathe, because that is pure joy and can carry you through the struggles of everyday life or complex, completely messed up life, whichever boat you're rowing. I know that for me, having a family moment of laughter literally fills my soul with pure joy. When I find those instances, I make sure to revel in them, as if I am a child in a ball pit. Those are the small things that get me through these hard times when you feel broken, because it's hard to see where happiness has been or if you have ever felt it. I think happiness gives us the energy to continue to move on. Happiness is a gateway to that deep emotion of feeling full for 2 seconds, feeling elated and joyous. Happiness is one of the simplest words. Still, it is one of the largest feelings. So once again, I leave you with the thought of happiness. Even in all the struggles, I hope this season of giving, love, and laughter, you can find the smallest glimpse of happiness, whatever that may be. Side note, I cannot directly answer questions on the Q&A in Spotify, so I will answer them in my podcast episodes. Angelisa Halsey asked, how do I get a part-time job? I live with these conditions and need to work even with a disability check. First of all, I am so sorry you have to continue to work even with your disability check. That should be enough for you to live, but unfortunately, that seems to be the case with most people on disability. Needing to have a job as well as get a disability check. Shaking my head. The whole point of disability is the fact that you cannot work. So I'm sorry for the injustice that has caused you and the fact that you can't just heal the way you need to. For me, I attempted to work part time recently, and unfortunately, my muscle weakness, among other things, would not allow me to continue to work part time. I also cannot get disability because I stayed at home with my daughter for 4 years. Then I worked for the school systems. And if you know anything about the school system, they do not pull from Social Security. I am 2 credits shy of reaching disability. Kind of a catch-22 for me. That is one of the reasons I started this blog and podcast as an attempt to supplement income to my family. So when you are trying to find a part-time job while on disability, I found that finding your capabilities that you know your body can handle is something that you absolutely have to do. So if you can drive, I would suggest something like Uber or delivery systems like Uber Eats, DoorDash, or any other food service delivery company. If you can be physical, Walmart, Kroger, Berkshire's, any of those bigger named grocery stores have the personal shoppers in stores. That could be something that's a possibility. If you have any sort of background in medical work, transcribing, or working in a medical office, lots of insurance companies hire for work from home positions. So that would be something that might be preferred. If you can work with your hands, such as knitting, baking, woodworking, etc., a possibility could be making items and selling them at farmers markets, trades days, or on Facebook Marketplace. To my dismay, I don't have direct answers for you when it comes to finding part-time work. The only thing I can say is figure out what your body is capable of doing and try to find something you might enjoy that you can do related to that industry. Sending you prayers and good vibes, Angelisa. I apologize if I pronounced your name incorrectly. I know that it is difficult to try to survive when your body doesn't want to do the things you need it to. I was an extremely independent person. At one point, I had 3 jobs, and not being able to do any of them has been a blow to not only my ego, but understanding that I have limitations has been one of the hardest barriers I've had to learn to live with. So I understand the difficulty of trying to figure out where you can help yourself and live a full life. This information is just an opinion and not a direct telling of what everyone's capability is. Also, I apologize for my voice. My allergies have been horrific, so my throat's all bleh. The complexity of happiness is found in this question, as well as the possibility that Angelisa could find something that makes her happy in this despair. It's that small glimpse of happiness that can be held. I know that when I do this podcast, it helps to heal parts of me and gives me some happiness knowing I can help others. Until next time, try to find your happiness, wherever that might be. When subscribing to Empowered by Illness, you are not only spreading awareness of genetic disorders and chronic illness, but helping our family with medical bills and everyday necessities. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for subscribing to Empowered by Illness.